There we go. All right. Oh, wrong button. Here we go. Screen visible. Cool. Welcome back to Bat Force Radio. Look at that. We've got Bat Force Tom here,
Howdy.
and I'm Robin Cross. And the last time we spoke with today's guest, we were talking about Batman 3 Jokers over at DC Comics. But since that time, he has been a huge part in putting together a new imprint publisher under Image Comics called Ghost Machine, together with an all-star list of creators like Geoff Johns, Gary Frank, Brad Meltzer, Brad Anderson, Francis Manapul, Ivan Reis, Peter Tomasi, just an insane list of people who have written some of your favorite comics over the years. And now we get today to talk about Rook Exodus. Welcome back, Jason Fabok.
Hey guys.
Hey
Thanks
man,
for
how
having
you
me back.
doing? Long
I'm
time no
doing,
see.
yeah. Last time I saw you, Robin, you were at my house.
Yeah. We you kindly allowed us to sit there and we chatted with yourself and Sarah while you signed a bunch of books for us, which is
Nice.
which was awesome.
Does he still
Yeah.
have the Batman what is it? The Grim Knight on the kitchen counter? That
No,
that
it's actually
Not on there
over
now.
in my office. It's just on the side.
yeah, I
But
remember
the entire kitchen looks like the Batcave, though. You should see it.
Yeah.
you shared that statue in a video that you posted, and it was like on your kitchen island, and I remember being like, I wouldn't even move it. That's where that should live.
Yeah. Well, if I didn't have three kids, and they're all under the age of 8, maybe I could leave something like that up, but I don't trust them. They're, especially my little one, Owen, he's 3, and
Oh,
like
they're gonna
today
want to.
he drew all over with a permanent marker all over
Oh, yeah. See,
the leather chair, and
oh, I was going to say too. Like, I'm sure there's another side to them, but from what I have seen, they're like the most well-behaved kids you could ever expect to see.
they're kids.
Yeah.
They're kids. They can be
Uh,
good in public and rambunctious at home, but I love them.
Awesome.
so anyway, as I just said in the build-up there, you guys did this whole Ghost Machine thing. Now, uh, a couple years ago, you had told me about, there was this book that you and Jeff had done, but you guys were all ready to start putting the book out, to get solicitations out and start putting the book into stores, but that something else had come up and this was now becoming a much bigger thing. And then later on we find out about Ghost Machine. Where did Ghost Machine come from? How did this all come to be?
Yeah, about it's well over 2 years now. Jeff and Gary were doing Geiger, and they had published that through Image and through Jeff's little offshoot imprint called Mad Ghost that he was doing at the time. And then we were working on Rook. He was working on Redcoat with Brian Hitch, and he one day we started talking about it because we were getting some different people kind of saying to us like, hey, you guys should think about like forming some sort of a company around all of you guys, and so that you guys can have more creative control and to keep the ownership of all these things, but also have strength in numbers, right? Like not just going out into it alone, but now you form a good team of solid people, and it just makes you stronger. And so we started toying with the idea, and it took a good 2 years to figure this all out, to come up with a business plan, to hire people that were good at building businesses from the ground up, people who have done this. We have people on our team who have done this with some pretty big Hollywood studios. And so they kind of, and we talked a lot about like what we liked about Image Comics and the original formation of that, but also what kind of hurt them and kind of was some of the downfall. And we looked at DC and Marvel and what we liked about what they were doing, but what we didn't like about what they were doing. And so a lot of those little conversations we had um, really started to form what we wanted the company to be. And then as time went on, the sort of the four of us started to talk to other creators that we knew that we wanted on board, and then we started bringing in different creatives, and some people that we approached approached said no, or they weren't able to do it at the time, and so but we really felt that we gathered together a really good strong team of people, uh, uh, a whole range of different art styles and creative minds and all this kind of stuff. And we also have people helping on the back end who were, are working for us in the back end, who work more specifically in film and TV and other sorts of media, who bring a lot of knowledge and wisdom of that and experience of that end of the world of entertainment too. So it's like we're able to really draw from and pull from so many different. Even our editors, like Mike Cotton and Brian Cunningham. These guys, like I worked with Brian Cunningham on Dark Side War and Justice League and all that stuff, and he's one of the best editors in the business. He's one of those guys that you really can rely on him to critique your stuff, to make it better. Or if you ask him for, hey, I need an extra week here. How can we figure out? Can we figure out the schedule? It's like, yep, let's do it. He's awesome, and so we've really assembled kind of like, in a way, it's like a dream team of people that we really just love working with. And so yeah, it all kind of came together there, and then we announced it at New York Comic Con this last year. And yeah, now in April we started releasing all these books to the stores, and we're on issue 3 of our books right now, and we have many more issues, and also some new series coming up in October and throughout in November. And yeah, so it's full steam ahead. Now we're in the thick of things, and it's real. But it's been a lot of hard work, but it's a lot of fun too.
And I like the mix of different kinds of books that are coming out under Ghost Machine. You've got the Geiger, which had already been around before, but it's not the same thing as Rook, and they aren't the same thing as Redcoat. And then there's the horror one, Hyde Street, coming up, and there's a family friendly book. Everything kind of has its own lane.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was something we talked about right from the beginning. We wanted to really, we didn't want to do straight superhero stuff. We did, like, everything kind of has that superhero tinge to it, right? Like Rook is kind of like I always described him as like a space Batman kind of guy, like and Geiger's got superpowers, in a way, but it's not a superhero book. Rocket Fellers has a little bit of that too, when you're going to see that from Francis and Pete, but they're really more genre storytelling and just classic hero kind of stories. Um, but yeah, we really wanted to have a broad range of different genre titles that could reach a large audience of people. So Rocket Fellers, which is coming out I believe in November. It's a family book. Um, it's about a family from the future who get sent to our time period as part of a witness protection program, and so they're trying to fit in, and they're kind of like the Jetsons. They're like out of their time and into our time, and it's funny, but it's got a lot of adventure to it as well. And it's something that I know Francis and Pete talked a lot about. They wanted a book that they could, like, that Francis could give to his daughters and be like, hey, you can read this, but it's also something that a grown-up can read and go, yeah, I really like this book. This is a lot of fun. It reminds me of Fantastic Four and the Incredibles. It's like that kind of a thing. And even with Rook, I've been very on Geoff about certain things in the book. I didn't want there to be any swearing in the book. because my 8-year-old son wanted to read Rook, and I don't let him read stuff that has swear words in it, even blanked out ones. I don't want him to. So it's like we got rid of them all. So the language is very clean. There's a little bit of violence in there, but other than some gunshots and stuff like that, flying around, it's a fairly the way I kind of wanted Rook to be was like the original Star Wars movie. If it wasn't an original Star Wars movie from the 80s there, then I think that we could do it in Rook kind of thing. And then that way it's like I would love it for 10, 11, 12-year-olds to be able to read Rook and get in on the adventure, but also for the grown-up audience, the adult audience, to also be able to enjoy it. And so it's like we're really trying to get out there and hit different audiences, different kind of there's going to be people who like and who love Rockefellers but won't really care about the Hyde Street stuff, and then there's going to be people who love the horror stuff and don't care about Rook, but that's okay, because we're all kind of in this together. We're trying to build up all of these different books and just make them the best books we possibly can. Great stories, great characters, awesome art, high quality books, and build up these books and the library that we have. And we're hoping to attract a whole bunch of different audiences to this stuff. And there'll probably be more genres in the future that we introduce later down the line too, that go into other little niche genres and whatnot. So again, it's a lot of fun, a lot of hard work, but a lot of passion, a lot of everybody's just really driven right now. We're excited, and we want people to check out our books. We really feel we have something good, and we want people to get in on it now on the ground floor and help us kind of build out this universe and be part of it right from the beginning.
There's I was just telling you guys where I was about to off camera. This is from the first issue, and something talking about getting this into the right hands and getting people in the ground up. This is from issue 1. There's in the back couple of pages, there's a QR code that you can scan to follow all you guys on social media, and there's a schedule for con appearances through the end of this year. And so when I was flipping through the book, I was like, "Oh, that's awesome," because like they're getting you connected with the artists, and then they're telling you where you can go and meet the artists in the actual physical book. And I can't remember the last time I saw that in a comic book. Like there's other books they'll publicize, maybe even like a convention maybe that will have an ad in it. But this is awesome, and like literally a lineup of your faces, where you're gonna be through the end of the year. And it's like that's super smart. That is really, really kind of like a genius thing to do.
Yeah, I really like that. We also I like how we have this little at the end of each issue. We have this little calendar that we put out that tells you kind of what's coming up, like what issues are coming out each month. And we also publish this little our little statement of what we are and who we are,
Very
and
cool.
the names and the people keep growing on the bottom with each version of that. But yeah, and then also like some of these ones here too, we've been putting like our little ad for our little store. So we have like a little Ghost Machine merch
Oh
store,
yeah.
threadless, and so you can scan the thing and go right there. And those are some things that I remember bringing up early on. It's like when it's like I don't. There's a lot of creators out there who are doing creator owned stuff, and I always would sit there and think like if I was doing something creator owned, I'd have a little t-shirt shop, especially with today's you can do things through Printful and some other different online stores where it's print to order. It's like you're not going to make a ton of money off of printing t-shirts and stuff like that, but it gets the name out there. It gets your brand out there. Like our number one selling item is the Ghost Machine hat. So this hat, it sells like crazy off of our little threadless store, and we're seeing people wearing them at cons now, and it's like that's cool. It's like it's just you're getting the logo, you're getting the name out there, and helping to grow that brand recognition. And yeah, we're trying to do things that we always wanted to see done when we were at DC or Marvel, but they never happened, or just never came about, or there wasn't the ability to do it, or just quick feet to be able. We're small, so we can. It's like if somebody comes up with an idea, 2 days later, it's already like somebody's figured it out and they're already doing it. Like, oh, okay, let's do this. Let's put an ad at the back and talk about our convention schedule. Like we can do that in 2 seconds. You don't have to go through 20 different people to figure that out. Whereas you did at like DC or Marvel, you'd have to go through all that stuff, right?
Yeah. And all it took was one person on the way up the chain to say no, and then it would stop.
Yeah.
Shout out to the Ghost Machine online store. I am looking at it right now, and their T-shirts, hoodies, and sweatshirts, you can get them up to size 5XL. So shout out for inclusion on the big boys.
For the big comic fans.
Yeah.
Now, you guys have this exclusive deal for con appearances this year with Fan Expo. So you guys are doing all the Fan Expo things. So if anyone's going to your local Fan Expo show, the whole Ghost Machine team is probably there. Are you guys selling merch at the conventions?
Not the T-shirts and stuff like that. Not yet. That's something we're looking into because we get asked a lot.
I was gonna grab one there.
but it's so like it's hard to ship all that stuff all the way around the country.
Yeah.
Just to have a QR and you can like order it and it's sent right to your house, right? Especially seeing that a lot of this stuff is kind of like a print to order kind of style. But at the cons we do have some exclusive books and stuff like that. I believe at Toronto we're gonna have a Rook exclusive gold edition of issue 1, like a full gold foil.
Sold.
Which is pretty cool. I think that's going to be at Fan Expo Toronto. We printed some of those, but we're trying to do some cool stuff like that. We had like a glow in the dark Geiger edition that we did at the last convention we were just at, MegaCon or something like that. So we are able to do some things like that, some books and whatnot. But this is kind of we see this as kind of our learning year. Where we kind of it's funny because Geoff has said a couple times like this year we're allowed to make some mistakes. We're gonna make mistakes. We're gonna screw things up here, screw some things up there, or not make wise decisions, or hey, maybe we should have done this. That's what this year is for. And so we're starting. We've learned so much, even just in these since we announced everything in New York. And things are going to change and grow as we go along here and figure out, kind of what we want to do and how to best get product in the hands of people. We would love to be able to we'd love to be able to ship signed copies of these things direct to people too, and buy the books off of our own website too. And do like specials like that in the future. But again, everything is slow. We're taking baby steps right now. It's just let's get the books out. Let's make sure they're high quality. Let's get them to the stores. Let's work with this. Like one of the things we've really loved this past year is just talking to comic book shops, talking to them. That was like it's such a simple concept, but it was like it's something that like I don't know. I'm not going to say anything about other companies, but with us, it's been we have to talk to the comic book shops. These are the people on the front lines who are selling our books every single month. We want them to be in on it with us. We want them to push our books and get them out there, but we also want to listen to what they have to say. We want to hear what the comic shops would like to see us do. And that's been a ton. It's been a lot of fun to actually like talk to comic shops, see what they're seeing going on in their stores, see what's selling, seeing what's not selling. Some stores like tons of variant covers. Some stores don't want any variant covers, and it's like we're trying to figure out a good balance between that and different events in store and promotional stuff. It's been for me, from an artist perspective, who's only ever, sat in my office drawing and then maybe goes into the comic book store to pick up the book when it comes out. this has been a totally different world I've entered into. I'm learning each and every day what it takes to run a comic book company, and and I'm learning all these other skills, these business skills that are coming into play. And I enjoy it. I enjoy that part of the job too. And just connecting with different people and shop owners, and hearing, I get messages quite a bit from different shop owners saying like, hey, this really like what you guys are doing here, keep it up, or hey, have you thought about this, have you thought about that? And we pass those along up the chain, and we discuss those things as a group, and we say like, hey, is this something we want to think about? It, do we want to go this direction? It's been a it's really been eye opening, and it really given me different perspectives on the industry itself. And that's, I think, it's something that not everybody, unless you worked in management or a DC or Marvel or at another company, you're not learning all that stuff. You're not seeing all of the behind the scenes stuff that really goes into making these books and making them sell, and helping stores to sell them. um, so yeah, that's been a really cool part of it too.
And the things that you guys are deciding to move forward on, another, maybe this is where being a big company like DC is different, where it takes a long time for ideas to be approved and put into action. You guys get things done quickly. Like, we're 3 issues. I think it was at issue 1 of the first set of books that you guys already had coffee out. You guys had
Yeah,
this out, the Ghost Machine Ghost Roast coffee.
yeah, yeah. Like, the Comics on Coffee company was at MegaCon, and they came up to our booth, and they had done some Batman and Joker ones with some of my artwork on it, and so they brought me some of those, and were like, hey, like, we did these, and the people really love them. And so then we just point them over to our business manager Corey, and he starts talking with them, and the next thing you know, hey, we just made a little deal with these guys to put some of our artwork on the coffee. And it's like, it's a little thing. It's a little thing that, again, it's like, we can do that. We don't have to go through a million different people to get licensing approved. We can do it. We want, if we like what's being offered, and we think it's a good move, we can do it. And it's really freeing. It's a lot of fun to be able to, and the coffee's not going to make us like a ton of money, but it's something really cool. It gets the brand out there. It's a neat little side kind of thing with our company, with our brand, with our artwork. And there's going to be other things we're already talking about too, coming up here in the future, where we're going to get to do the same thing, and we can move very quick. They told us what they needed and what they wanted from us. It's like, okay, let's go. Here's the artwork. Boom, boom, boom. I had suggested, like, make the bag yellow, because it was going to be just black like all their other ones, and
Oh
their
yeah.
other copy. And I said, no, 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 it's got to be yellow, so it really stands out from all the other bags. And that's our color too, the yellow color. So it's like,
Yeah.
we can do that. And it's like, boom, like, couple days later, they had the thing mocked up. Francis did some tests. He's a coffee connoisseur, so he took some different, they sent him a whole bunch of different things, trial packets of coffee. He figured out what he wanted, and we went, boom, done. And it's out. It's that's how flexible and we can do this kind of thing.
It's awesome that it's just kind of giving fans more of an opportunity to kind of experience something, because you're not the huge big two, and it's not like, there's you're a much smaller kind of operation, but you're able to do a lot more because of the freedom of that. And things like this is a cool example of it. And it feels kind of like that's what is cool about this is, you're reading through the first couple of issues of Rook specifically, and it's like, oh, this is awesome. Like, this is a post-apocalyptic kind of space thing. And you were talking about, yeah, we're not really trying to do superheroes too much. This is refreshing to have when it really feels right now like with superhero comics and the big two right now. There's a lot of like targeted like they want to go in a specific direction, and so if you're on a book working in that book or on that character, you want to do A, B, and C. You would love to work with these characters to do all this stuff, but you can't because well, actually, here's the arc that we're doing this month. Here's the event that everyone's kind of gonna have to write to, and oh, but there's rules. You can't do this with this character. You can't use that character. This character's in this movie. This character's on this TV show. He's not really allowed to do this in the comics. There's none of that right now, and so it really feels like all right, this is very cool, and it's cool to have a book that's new, and like this can go anywhere. These characters don't have rules. There's no established continuity that you have to like, cater to. This is all brand new for you guys to play with. What where do you feel like you get to experience that the most as the creator, where like you feel maybe a little lack of a leash, or you really feel that oh my gosh, like look at all this freedom that I can play with.
Yeah. Yeah, it's um I was always I was always pretty lucky, kind of working with Geoff. He was able to really just do whatever he wanted at DC. So, it was kind of nice, but there were still times when we would come up with something and DC would say no,
Mm.
we couldn't go that direction or whatever. But that was very few and far between. But I will say that there is that sense like when especially at DC, you don't own these characters. You don't own Batman, you don't own Superman, and it is an honor to go and to work on those characters. It is. I considered it. I considered it. Uh, I did consider it an honor. I felt like I was a steward. Like I don't own Batman, but I'm gonna come in there and I'm gonna do my best because the character has been around for 80 years. And there's been so many great artists and writers who have and filmmakers and cartoon and all who have tackled this character and done a good job with it. And I wanted to do a good job with it too, to be a good steward of the character, to lead, to do my best job I could, and so that the reader would read the book and really enjoy the books and the stories that we did. And it was awesome, and I had a great time at DC. And it was a big part of my life. This is kind of where I always imagined myself being, was doing what we're doing now, but I didn't think it was ever possible, um, because it was going off and doing a creator owned thing is a big gamble. It's safer to stay at the big two and get your paycheck and work on characters. Even if you're not really happy with what you're working on, you still just do it because it's a good paycheck and it's a living. But we've been able to figure out how to do Ghost Machine, and it and for it to be a success, and to be successful at this, and to take away a lot of those fears, is simply by combining forces with all of these great people and people who know what they're doing. So we're not you don't feel like you're taking as much of a leap and a gamble. You're able to just create stories and focus on the creativity because we have other people who are really good at what they're doing, focusing on all the other stuff, the business side of things, and all that kind of thing. And so when it comes to our creativity, I love it because Geoff and I, we can get on the phone, we can discuss where we want the story to go, and 2 days later he's got a script written, and then we can talk about that script. And even with Rook 1 and Rook 2, issue 1 and 2, we actually made a lot of changes up to the last minute. Like we changed entire pages in issue 2. We changed the entire sequence because we had done something and we kind of were thinking about it. It's like, I don't know if that works. I think we need to go this other direction. And it's like, okay, great. And we changed it and off we went and got it colored. Brad colored it up and we put it in the book, and we made that book what we wanted it to be. We added pages to Rook issue 1 that weren't there originally. And so we have that flexibility. We can do that because we own these characters. We control these characters. And We can kill off characters if we want. We can introduce new characters if we want. And yeah, it's very freeing, but at the same time, I will say this: doing this is it feels like it's 3 or 4 times the amount of work goes into this as compared to DC Marvel stuff. And the reason is because when a writer writes to you, writes on the script page, Batman goes to Gotham Aquarium. Because of all the history of Batman, you automatically know what that Gotham Aquarium's probably going to look like. Even if you have to design it from scratch, you kind of already know what it looks like because you just know the architecture of Gotham and boom, 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 boom. Or you can rely upon, hey, some so and so building appeared in issue 475 of Batman, so you go and get the reference, boom, done, draw it, and you kind of know what the universe is about. Whereas with this stuff, when Geoff writes something in these issues or says, yeah, Ursa appears with a driving in a giant tank vehicle, it's like, well, I gotta come up. I have to sit there and really think about this from a world building perspective and be like, okay, what does that vehicle look like? How does it operate? How do I make it look a little bit different than the other cars that we've seen? Do I want to lean into an animal angle on that? How big should this thing be? Like, there's all these different, like, you don't really, you think it's going to be easy to kind of come up with all this stuff, but it's not. It's a lot of work to sit there and come up with what this world looks like, especially a science fiction world that takes place in the future. It's like it's not our world, and so that's been where it's been tough. It's been a lot of hard work developing the look of things and the characters, and that's where a lot of extra time goes. Sometimes I just design things on the go because I have no time. I just like, okay, here we go, and I just design it. But a lot of things I'll sit there and I'll actually really think about it. And there's in issue 3, I guess. Are we going to release this after issue 3 comes out, Robin?
It's up to you. We can go spoilers for 3 if you want, or we can just keep hush about it and tease a bit. Either way you want.
I say we go a little spoilery because then I can kind of talk, and then we can have this come out when issue 3 hits.
Cool.
But so Robin, there's that in issue 3. There's that 2-page spread of like Ursa's giant vehicle called the Ark, right? And
yeah,
that thing, it took me like 2 weeks to design that thing. I came up with like 10 different designs for it, and I just couldn't. I was like, I don't know which one to use. And Geoff and I kind of really talked about it, and we always wanted to look like a giant aircraft carrier on wheels, on treads, with this huge boat with wheels, and but that took me forever to design that one vehicle. But now that I have it designed, I know what it looks like now I can draw it. Like I don't have to worry about it. But it took me a long time to draw that because I had to design that thing. And I was really trying to think about it and the shape of it and how do I make this thing look kind of cool and interesting and different and look like a boat, and it kind of we called it the Ark, and it kind of calls back to Noah's Ark in a way, but it's like a big land vehicle. So it's things like that. It's freeing to be able to do that, but at the same time it's so much work. You think about it all the time, and you're really like getting in your head, and you're really like, oh, and that takes up a lot of extra time trying to plan all this stuff. So there's pros and cons to it, but I love the creative process of all this.
You're literally world building something brand new, something that you've never seen before, that you can't like go back to previous issues from other creators and use as reference. It's like, no, okay, well, what's this brand new spaceship gonna look like? What's this part of this planet going to look like? And like there's like really big sweeping landscape shots, pages and panels, and like big looking, like I love in issue 1 when the big giant bear shows up for the first time. Like, you're not expecting something like this, and then you give explanation as to why these creatures are getting so big, but it just makes the planet look massive because and the contrast of this character with that bear, and then you realize, okay, there's like giant monsters on this planet. What like to you really are creating something visually kind of massive. Is there any like inspiration that you take from like other mediums to inspire the size of like, because I just think like in your head all of these canyons and this like massive valley, this forest at the the rivers and like the like, it's like, okay, this thing is huge. Like this feels like you're watching a movie of like a Nolan set where it's like everything's practical, nothing special effects. It's all practically shot, like Mad Max or something like that. You're finding locations and doing it there. Like where did you find the inspiration to these like vast, massive panels?
I
Yeah.
want to actually try to add into that because I think it's going to partially be the same answer. Now, a long time ago, like before Rook was, even close to in stores, you told me a little bit about where the idea of Rook originally came from. Maybe if you want to tell people that story along with, as part of answering Tom's question, 'cause that's
Yeah.
a cool story to hear.
Yeah. So so first I'll go. So the origin of Rook. This is something like this character has been a character that I've been drawing for a long time. Little bits and pieces of the character go back to my college days when I was at animation college at St. Clair in Windsor. And then when I got into the industry, uh, I have some of I know I did drawings before, but the earliest ones I could find are from about 2013, 2014, where I was kind of starting to lock in on like the design of like the helmet and all this kind of thing. But this character has always kind of been there, but I didn't have a story. I did like one time the character was like it was like a fantasy kind of thing, and then it became a sci-fi fantasy thing, and I thought, well, maybe it's like Rook, but he's like he's fighting like space orcs, kind of like Warhammer kind of thing. But I just didn't know. And when Geoff and I were pitching stories to each other about what we wanted to do, I brought this up because I had all this artwork, and he was just like, "Dude, what's the story behind this?" And I was like, "I don't know, I have no clue." I kind of pitched him a couple things. He's like, "Nah, I don't know." And his thing was, he kept coming back to this, and he made a good point. He said all science fiction has like a major hook to it. It's like what's that made like Alien. It's not. It's like they're in space on a spaceship and they're being hunted by an alien. Like it's kind of it was unique for its time. Like it stood out from Terminator, which is like this robot from the future who comes, like Terminator and Alien are like two different things, and they have a theme to them, and they have a story about them, and he's like, "What is the thing about this?" And I was like, "I don't know." And then we kind of were talking about it, and he said, Geoff said something like, "Well, how come he has a bird mask?" I said, I don't know. It's kind of like, it's like Batman dresses up like a bat, So Rook, he just took on the persona of a bird. And then Geoff said, well, what if there's other characters that have these masks? And then that, boom, like immediately all of this stuff, he's like, there should be a bear guy, and there should be, uh, actually, before that too, we had talked about what if the masks can control like drones, like these drone kind of bird things. And then I one of us said, what if it's just real birds? Like he can control birds, like real birds, and he can use them as spies, and he can see through their vision, and then that exploded this idea of these helmets. And then we really started to build this world, and we thought it would be cool if it's set on this a unique planet so that we don't have to worry about Earth history. We can just have this unique planet. It's fallen into dark times. There's kind of a race against time because the planet's dying. They got to restart these engines to get the planet back going. And so we started kind of finding these little bits and pieces of this world. But the main driver was always like these characters have these helmets that allow them to control animals. And then I don't even know where the giant animal thing came from, but we kind of were like, it'd be cool if the animals were like prehistoric or something like that. And then we were like, well, what if they were giant bears and giant wolves and all this kind of stuff. And so that kind of gave us another unique angle. And it's like, I've never seen that before. That's really cool. That's a really different kind of thing. And so we started bringing all this in. And when it comes to designing, like doing like I'm drawing a lot of inspiration from westerns. And one thing we talked about early on was we wanted the world, at least where the story starts, we want it to feel like North America. So it's like, so I was watching a lot of like Yellowstone at the time. And so it's like I was drawing in on like Montana and Alberta, Canada, and like kind of like that mountainous, those mountainous kind of prairie regions kind of coming together. And we wanted it, again, leaning into the idea of Rook being a kind of like a Clint Eastwood kind of character. That's kind of always how I described him to Geoff. So it's like, okay, well, what if we kind of started playing into like this Western angle too? Because in Westerns, you always, the themes are always like nature versus the encroaching civilization. That's like one of the big themes in Westerns, right? As the people are going out to tame the frontier, right? And that's kind of a bit of our story. It's going to have some of that in there, but it's got this kind of this dichotomy of the technology of these helmets and nature, and people using that technology to control the nature. And it's like, how far does that go? And what if, can these characters uh, form relationships and bonds with their animals that allow them to go deeper and beyond what this helmet could ever give to them? And all these kind of themes started coming in there. That really starts to propel your vision of what the world is. The first issue of Rook took me like a year to draw, because it's like every page I'd be like, okay, well, what does this city look like? What is, and Geoff kept on saying, hey, I want the world to feel really big. Like it's just got to be big, big mountains and big trees and big animals. It's got to seem vast and really big. Like mountains got to be like 10 times the size of any mountain you see here on Earth. And so it's
And
like,
the
okay,
vehicles are crazy.
yeah, the vehicles was
here's
another thing.
Since we talked about it, for anyone watching the YouTube version, here is the arc that Jay talked about.
Yeah. So it's like a giant aircraft carrier / boat thing with giant tire treads. It's like, it's easy to kind of talk about that. Yeah, it's a boat on wheels, but like, what does it look? And then Ursa's got these cool, I kind of threw those in there, like these cool little flying units. And kind of the shape of those are based upon the shape of the cars that Ursa drives. So there's kind of a continuity within the look and the feel of all of these different vehicles. And the vehicle, like the arc I didn't design specifically to look like an animal, but like Direwolf's like speeder bike thing, kind of like it's got a basic shape of like a wolf head, and Rook's car has like a beak on it and wings, so it kind of has a bird shape. And Ursa's vehicles kind of have a bear shape to them. So it's like I wanted to kind of bring all of this stuff together where we're really leaning into these themes, like the animal theme. And at first I really wanted to be very subtle, but then as we've gone with each issue, I'm like, okay, I'm just going to lean into it, like lean into this way more, because it doesn't have to be subtle. It can be kind of fun and silly. And so, well, why would they build their car to look like a giant bear? I don't know. They just did.
Why wouldn't they? Why does Batman have a bat on everything?
Exactly.
Because it's fun.
That's kind of like also that kind of stuff is fun because it's part of like comic book, like, history and it's what you do. So it's like, let's just do it. Like, let's have fun with it,
I love that idea where you had this character in your head like for years, and it's just something you're playing with and you're drawing it and you have an idea of it, and then you share it with Geoff Johns, and then you kind of like both mulling over it now, and then he goes, what if, and because like all you're thinking about is this one character, how he looks, what he's doing, what he's capable of, and then he goes, what if he's just one of a dozen of characters like this that has also a helmet related? And it's like it just breaks open that, like, oh my gosh, I never thought of that. And like, what, as a reader, that happens when I'm flipping through this, and I think as you get to the end of it, Robin had that graphic up where it's in the book, the graphic that Robin has, it doesn't have print, but in the book it says choose your animal. And so you flip to the last page, and then in the first issue you're like, wait, there's more of them, and they all like correlate to a different animal. Yeah, that one right there. It's like you're like, wait, what? And then so you're like, oh god, we're gonna meet all these people like throughout this arc or this book. And it's kind of like that moment where you focus on the one and you're just only looking and thinking about this one character, and then he goes, what if that's just what, zoom out. What if there's like a bunch of them? And then you're like, what? Yeah, I love that.
And issue 3 really starts to open up the world. Like things blow
Crazy.
open here, and I'm not gonna show everything in case people, it'll be so we're going to put this episode up on June 26th when issue 3 is in stores. We're a week early on that right now, but I'm going to put up one other image here. This is one of the other wardens that is revealed in issue 3, and this is the
Oh,
creepiest one.
Yeah.
this
Okay.
this dude with the who controls the spiders, sitting in this room full of giant spiders, webs all over the place.
yeah, he can keep that helmet.
Yeah, no thanks.
Yeah. And the fun part about like those pages there are an example of like I didn't have much time to really sit there and try to come up with tons of design stuff. So Geoff was like, well, just try to make things look, like just vague, So the spider guy, we kind of I have an idea for what I want to do with them, but until we get to that character, I just wanted, you don't really see him. He's just kind of there. He's fixing his helmet, but we'll get into that character later. Like characters like the fox guy was much more like I knew exactly what I wanted to do with him, and the grasshopper locust guy too. And so it's like, yeah, issue 3 really kind of starts to expand it, and we're going to see that come into play as the different story arcs kind of build. And one of the interesting things too is when we were talking after we started to kind of click into issue 2 and issue 3, Geoff kind of started to say to me, you know what? He's like, I'm really starting to see or think of this book kind of like my Green Lantern run.
Oh my goodness.
So he because he like when they did the Green Lanterns and they did all like the spectrum of colors, right? People started to identify like, well, I'm a blue lantern.
Yeah.
No, I'm an orange lantern. I'm a red lantern. And they had the T-shirts and they were selling them. They could give away the rings at the cons and stuff like that. And people got drawn into these different things and they started to relate to them. And so Geoff was like, it's like this whole thing about choose your animal. It's like that reminds him a lot of that Green Lantern stuff. And so he's now starting to really think of the book like he was when he was writing Green Lantern, and how you can have all of these different personalities of these characters, and each one can be different. Some play up to their stereotypes as an animal. Some are going to be the opposite of what that animal is because it's funny. There's a character on the page after that when we're showing all these heads, and there's this rooster guy, and this is a character. The rooster guy, I'm not going to say much about him, but it's a thing I pitched to Geoff, and it's totally the opposite of what you think a rooster guy would be. He's just like that. He's going to be like He-Man or like Conan, but with a rooster helmet, and he's just like a barbarian dude. And Geoff laughed so hard when I told him that. He's like, "That's so awesome! We got to do that." So it's like it's fun to play with these ideas and lean into them. And some are goofy, some are going to be played very like regal and honorable, and then other characters will be more silly, and it's fun to play with that. It's fun to make these characters, and I think even some of these characters, we've even started to see some fan art of people designing animal characters.
Oh wow.
And it's like, oh, that's kind of neat. Like they're thinking of animals they want to see, and they're kind of designing them and sending us the artwork. It's like, that's really neat. That shows that people that theory is true. Everybody has a favorite animal, and they're going to latch on to certain animals that they feel kind of represent them, and that's I think kind of how you start to capture an audience who really wants to follow your work because they'll start to relate to it. Yeah, there's a whole bunch of different characters there, and some of those helmets will probably change as when we actually get to the issues with them, because
Yeah.
it was just like, okay, I just got to draw a rat character. So it's like,
Yeah,
here you
well,
go.
another tradition in comics is things being retconned.
Yeah, and changing from issue to issue.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Gentlemen,
One of the
oh, I'm sorry. I have a
Okay.
6 o'clock. I told Robin I have a 6 o'clock meeting I couldn't get out of. It's been a pleasure, Jason. Obviously, continue on with Robin. I'm so bummed that I can't stay on, but super excited for the book.
Boo.
I'll cut all this out. But yeah, man, this is the Ghost Machine stuff is some of the most exciting stuff out right now, and really excited for it. And yeah, are you going to be in San Diego?
not this year. I think Geoff will be there for
Cool.
the Saturday, I believe. But yeah, it's been tough with trying to get all the stuff out. I had to kind of back out of a few cons, but San Diego, not this year. Next year, I think for sure.
All right. Well, good luck with everything, and we'll be reading. So we'll be reading and talking about it. And it was awesome chatting with you, man. Keep going with Robin. Have a great night.
All right, see you, Tom.
All right. Thank
Later,
you.
Tom.
Later.
Okay, now one other thing that I want to get into here. Now, I don't know anything, that people reading the issues don't know or anything. One of the things that Rook has referenced in one of the issues is that as he is controlling the flock through his helmet, he feels uh, their thoughts invading his mind. So I'm kind of hoping that one of these other wardens, maybe some of the wardens that we've met, to have kind of surrendered to the thoughts of their animals, and they've sort of begun behaving the way the animals that they control behave.
Yeah, yeah. You will see some of that stuff. It's that was a genius thing that Geoff came up with, because it now it's not a one-way street. It's not just we're controlling the animal. Yeah, like I loved when I read that first. It's funny because like I'll read, you get the scripts and you write, you draw them or whatever. But then Geoff, like, he takes it and he kind of like goes through it again after you've drawn it, and he adds so much into the world. And the first time I read Rook 1, where he mentions this instinct influence, I just was like, whoa, like that is awesome. And how
Where
he's
did that come
hearing
from?
yeah, he's hearing the birds like always cawing in his mind, and them telling him things like flee, fly, 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 and he's like, you know they keep telling me this, but they don't understand that I can't fly, I can't run, I can't just fly away, and I just thought that is so cool. That opens up such uh, a whole world of cool story stuff that we can do in the future. And you're going to see a little bit of that come into play in issue 4, and then a little bit of that in issue 5 as well, with some different things that go on. But it's something we're going to touch on in future issues as well. We have a whole storyline plan that really focuses on that. But yeah, it's really cool, and it's like this, there's a push and pull, and certain, like, Direwolf kind of represents the kind of character who can, she has some control. She's kind of formed that relationship with her pack. She's a true pack leader. And Rook, the first, really our first story arc here is about Rook trying to find that place, find that connection with his flock, so that he can become more than what he is. Right now, he's just kind of using the birds as a way of, as a weapon or as a tool. He's
Yeah.
disgusted by them. He mentions it a couple times, like he doesn't like them.
Yeah, and well, at this point in the story, Rook is still very much of the mind of getting off of the planet,
Yeah,
whereas
yeah,
the other wardens haven't given up on the planet. They still want to save it.
yes, yeah. And so that, that kind of plays into him and his character. He's not a, and that's something we've talked about a lot too. He's not fleeing because he's a coward. He's he's just like, he sees the world's doomed. Like, what are we supposed to do? Like, these problems are too big for us to handle. I'm gonna go away. And the fight and versus flight kind of thing, that's a really big theme of this first arc. And And I really like that when Geoff pitched that to me, because I truly relate with that, because with things that go on in your life and in the world and stuff like that, especially when you have kids, you start to think like things like, man, if I could only just run away, if I could only just buy a cabin out in the middle of nowhere, move my family there, things would be great, things would be perfect. I can run away from all my problems. But the truth of the matter is that you're always going to have problems. You're always going to have you're always going to have things that come into your life, and it's like you have to take a stand, you have to fight against those things, or you have to engage with them. And so for me, I really felt that personal connection with that fight versus flight, and kind of how that's going to tie in with the story. And we touch on that, and it's really cool how we kind of touch on that in the story. But um that's yeah, a lot of the thing I really love about what we've created is that it has a lot of potential for a whole bunch of other things. And you want to dive into all these different things, but it's like, no, no, no. We have a long game. We have a long story we want to tell. If this is our first arc, let's get through the first arc. Let's tell a good, succinct story that kind of ties all together. Then we'll go on to the next arc and we'll tell another story, and how that works with the world, and we'll bring in more stuff, and we'll lead up to a big kind of thing that's going to happen. And that kind of stuff is a lot of fun to build on, and gets you really excited to think of the potential of everything in our world.
Yeah, and the potential is something that through the issues has continually rolled out and been a surprise. You start off, it's nice when any book has more depth to it than you expected, but it's great that this goes beyond, like, okay, the characters look cool, there's this cool world, and okay, this guy's trying to get off it. But then as you go through more layers are peeled back, and just seeing the depth that's here, that there's this other aspect to the people. Oh, no, all these other people are here that aren't trying to get off. So everyone isn't tried. There are people that are trying to save. Oh, there's this whole other society here, all this stuff. So all these other themes and aspects of the world and of the story. It's really interesting seeing all of that roll out.
Hmm. Yeah, and I'll say this about Geoff as a writer: he challenges me so much, because I'm a very visual thinker and very action oriented. So I'm like, Geoff, what about this cool scene where this happens and he fights and he shoots and blah 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 blah, and this happens and this blows up. And then he always just will say, yeah, but wow, what does that have to do with the emotion, the emotional beats of the story? Like, what does that do to take our character from point A to point B in his emotional journey? And it's like, okay, like, he's thinking on a different level with this stuff than I do. I'm thinking of it from a, hey, yeah, I I think a lot of artists, we think of it more along the lines of, I just want to draw cool stuff. If I'm working on Batman, I just want to draw Batman looking cool, driving his car, fighting some guys, you know. Whereas Geoff as a writer, he really is trying to think about, what are the themes, what are the emotions, how do we get this character to have an emotional connection with the audience? How do we keep the themes going? How do we bring everything into those things? How do we surprise people? How do we have them connect to this character and then you break their heart? Like, there's all these little things of how he writes, and how he kind of is manipulating all of these story things. And it's not, sometimes I have to kind of take a step back and go, okay, yeah, it's not just about the crazy cool visuals of it, even though I love that part of it. It has to be about the story and the connection with these characters, the emotion that's coming through. And he's really kind of beat that into me. And it's like, he's like, because sometimes I'll say like, well, I just want to draw that cool stuff. And he says, yeah, but that's not what Ghost Machine books are about. Ghost Machine books are, we're going to be deeper, we're going to be better, we're going to go that extra mile to really have an emotional connection with the audience, and to build up these characters, and build up these worlds, and have all of this stuff come together to form this really epic, awesome, cool story with ups and downs and highs and lows. And and it's just, it really makes you think differently about what we're putting into the book, and how if you're going to put an action sequence in, what does it serve the story? How does it serve the characters? How does it serve the story moving along? And so, yeah, those things are, it's fun. It's different to think about that from an artistic perspective.
And what a great collaborator to have, helping guide you through those kinds of thought process. Not everyone gets to collaborate with a comic mind like Geoff Johns.
Yeah, yeah,
And
he's one of the best for a reason, right?
yeah. And then you've got also Brad Anderson in there, which I don't ever want to see. No respect. There are a lot of other great colorists out there, but I don't think I ever want to see another colorist handle your pages.
Yeah, Brad and I have been working together since Batman Eternal, so whenever that was released, and he's uh, it's like the way I've kind of described it before is like it's like we're a band, and he's maybe he's the bass player or he's the rhythm guitarist, and I'm playing the guitar or something like that, or he's the drummer, I'm the guitarist. And when you're in a band and you're really like playing well, you kind of get in sync, and you're able to really just like riff off of each other, and you can like look at each other, and you just kind of know like, okay, we're going to go to a chord change, we're going to do, like, that's kind of how it is with Brad. I draw something, and I sometimes, like, I early on in with Rook, I knew exactly what I wanted. I wanted a lot of yellows and a lot of oranges and browns. I really wanted that to be like the color theme of the book. And so I kind of gave him that, and I gave him some color stuff with the characters. But then after a while, I just sit back. Now I just sit back and I go, you handle it, because he understands when to change and shift colors, like that shot of Direwolf that's kind of in the background. Like, in my mind, I always imagine that with her standing on the yellowish kind of background, like every other page. But Brad did this blue, like this nighttime shot, and I was just like, that's perfect, because it totally just, it takes it to a different place. It's a different time of day. It's something we haven't seen. The first issue, everything was so yellow, and now you got this. And as we move into the swamps, you start to go green, more greens in there, and he just really, he's able to bring together so much into his color palette and make the world feel dense, and like you can feel like heat and and the weather of this planet, right? And um, yeah, he is the best, and he puts up with my stupid amounts of layers that I give him with all of his artwork, so that he can separate it more easily. And sometimes I think he gets pretty annoyed at me, but in the end, it makes for a great looking book. And and we have Rob Leigh on letters too, and
Mhm.
he's a DC veteran for years.
Yeah.
And again, like, he you just kind of say to him like, well, I'm kind of thinking about something like this, and then he just goes off and does it, and makes the lettering just like flawlessly part of the storytelling. You can really see it in like in Redcoat and in Geiger, he's using different. I thought I had Redcoat. Yeah, like in Redcoat, he's using like this really cool like script, to kind of like tell like the word balloons. That, like, it feels like it's like out of an old journal, and it separates it from what Rook is and what Geiger is. And it's just, we have amazing talent working on these issues and on these books that you can just rely upon. You know, and I'm a control freak, and Jeff's had to say to me a couple times over the years, like, dude, you just gotta, like, you've done your job, you gotta let it go, let other people, bring their thing into it. And so, like, with Brad and Rob, everybody, it's like a joy. It's a joy to, like, send off the artwork and then just see it come back alive, with
Yeah.
color, and the choices that he makes are always spot on.
Yeah. Well, the way all of this has come together, the story aspects, the world, the depth of it, yeah, however, all the visual aspects, yeah, you guys have really put together something special. And for people that may not have thought they would read something like this before, if they were just into your Batman stuff, like, well, I don't know if I'm gonna follow them along to this, like there's still stuff for you in this. Like even if you look at Rook himself, the character design, like you can see bits of Batman in his suit design. There's bits of Spawn, it looks like, in his suit design, you know, the red pieces with the spikes on them and stuff. So this isn't something to ignore just because you have always stuck with the superhero stuff, you know. Follow along, check this stuff out, go for the ride, and you won't be disappointed that you do. So before we let you get out of here, let's reiterate. So Rook issue 3 is in stores as of now. The day you're going to hear this is June 26th. And yeah, there it is. And here are
my issue 3s are in
two of the covers right here.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, I've got mine too. So there's 2 of the covers.
Yeah. Yeah, but
And
we're doing like for the first couple issues there, we did some helmet variants.
Yeah.
The different characters, and so those were a lot of fun to do. And issue 3 hits, and then issue 4, issue 3 is a little light on the action. It's a little more of a story, kind of developing the world, and then issue 4 is pretty much all action. So you're going to get a little bit of everything with these books. And I'd say, you know, to the, you know, a lot of people who listen to your show and watch your show are, you know, mostly here for Batman stuff, right? And I would just say this, like, you know, I like Robin was saying, I think there's a lot in all of the Ghost Machine books. There's a lot in there that people, especially who love classic superhero or just, you know, hero stories, there's a lot in these books for you to get into. Each book has its own flair, its own kind of take on things. Rook is my love letter kind of to, you know, 70s Star Wars, you know, early Star Wars, Mad Max, Clint Eastwood. You know, he's got Rook to me he's got the big duster jacket like Clint Eastwood and did in so many movies. And you know, I even based the original, kind of like when I was trying to figure out, like, well, what does he look like underneath the helmet? I took like Clint Eastwood pictures and like was trying to figure out like what he should, and he kind of turned and morphed into his own thing. But you know, there's a lot of that influence I pulled from those things, and also some Batman stuff and other superhero things, Wolverine and stuff like that. And it's you know,
and like this is such a cowboy shot here.
Yeah. And they got these cool, the masks are cool, and a lot of the masks are based upon like the designs of like a skull, like the animal skulls and stuff like that. It's I don't one of the things we talked about a lot is we know that this is a long game, that we're putting out these books. Some people will not, like, I discovered Hellboy years and years and years and years after Mike Mignola even like started the thing, you know, like I came in like really late to that book, you know, and I wish it was something where I came in way earlier, because I could have experienced it throughout all those years and getting the individual issues at the comic book shop. And you know, it's that we know that there's going to be people who will discover the stuff years later. But you know, give it a try. Pick up Rook. I think you'll like it. I think people will get into it and have a lot of fun with the book. We're having a lot of fun making it, and we want people to read it and get into it and you know, tell us, you know, hey, we really like this character, we want more books on this character, and then we can go off, we can do those kinds of things and spin off.
But no more of this spider guy.
Yeah, well, we'll see when we get to him eventually. You know, he's a character I've been thinking about since the beginning. Him, and there's another guy on there with the stag with the deer helmet. I think that character, once we start to get into that character, he's got a really cool kind of story and stuff. He's like this Ronin samurai dude, and he speaks Japanese, and I think he's going to be a character that fans will really get into and be like, yeah, we want stories about this guy, you know. So yeah.
Yeah, it's a mistake if you aren't giving this a shot. So at the very least, you owe it to yourself to check it out. Now, for the people who are, I just want to hear him talk about Batman. Not to fear, I won't leave this out. Now, we aren't getting, at any time soon a proper sequel to Three Jokers, but there is. This is coming up in the future.
Yeah.
The Joker anthology book, Joker of the World, and you and Geoff, obviously, you and Brad on the cover art here. But you guys do also have a Joker story inside that touches on where Three Jokers ended.
Yeah. Yep. It's just a short little story, but it's kind of um, it could be, it's kind of an epilogue to Three Jokers, but it also could be a prologue to a sequel. And it kind of incorporates some of the ideas we had for some sequel stuff to it. Um, I People have asked, like, are we going to do a sequel to Three Jokers? We wanted to at one point. It just wasn't meant to be, with the way things kind of happened, and changing of the guard at DC and whatnot. But I will never say that it won't happen, because we do have a really cool story. We would love to do it, but starting all of this stuff, starting Ghost Machine, building this company, it's like once we started to do that, we could then see, like, okay, like, this is the direction that we have to go. This is where we have to put all of our focus in. And I'll say this. I I love Batman, love Wolverine, love X-Men, love all the different things. But these characters and these things have been around, and just, they've been around for, 50, 60, 70, 80 years, and we need new stuff. We need
Mhm.
some new stuff. We I I don't know, every movie is like a sequel of a movie that came out 35 years ago, every TV show is that. And I'm more attracted to, I'm finding myself now being more and more attracted to brand new things. So, like, if there's like like, I'm really enjoying that TV show, Shogun, which I know is based upon an older novel, but I'm really enjoying the show. It's just something different. It's something new. I loved Stranger Things. It had that vibe of like an 80s kind of movie, Goonies kind of thing, but it incorporated some really cool new things in there too. And it was unique. It was a breath of fresh air. And that's kind of where I am as a creator. And after finishing up Three Jokers, Geoff and I really sat there, and it's like, we honestly asked ourselves, like, what do we want to do next? And we went through everything that DC had. We went through all the stuff that Marvel had, and it was like, let's do something new. Like, we need new things. We need new mythologies. We need new characters. And there's nothing new under the sun, really. Like, the old saying. Everything has been done, but you can do your own little unique twist. Like, I'm sure there's people have said, like, oh, Rook is kind of like Dino Riders, and it's kind of like 80s cartoons. It's like, yeah, it is. It's of course we pull, like, you're kind of pulling from all these inspirations that you had, and you're but you're kind of throwing it into the pot, and you're making something out of it. And that's what really excites me right now, is creating new things, new books, new characters, new IP, that maybe, our goal one day, hopefully maybe we'll see this stuff, in a video game or a TV show or a movie. But that's really right now our main focus, is we just want to create awesome comic books for comic book readers and people who are hungry for for you know I know myself, I've felt very like the big two has been very lacking in what they've been offering. I've been finding more of my joy in comic books outside of the big two, with Image and
Mhm.
Skybound and some of the stuff they're putting out. And like I said, Hellboy before, uh, and even some European comic stuff. It's like I'm wanting to find new things that excite me, and so that's what we're really trying to do with these books, and uh, trying to make something new, and create new characters and new mythologies that people can get into, and we really think that they'll like what we have to offer, and what we're going to have to offer in the future too. We got some really cool stuff coming.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's where I am right now, from a creative perspective. It's all Ghost Machine. It's just full speed ahead, you know.
Yeah, so get out there, check out some Ghost Machine stuff. Geiger is out there now. Redcoat issue 2, and actually the same day that Rook issue 3 is coming out, we are getting issue 3 of Redcoat as well.
Yeah, it's a good one. I get to read all of them,
Yeah.
you know, way ahead of time, and so and I get to Redcoat especially, like, holy smoke, the story that Geoff has planned for the first 7 issues is lights out awesome. You know, when
Yeah.
it's all comes together, it's like holy smoke. Like, if they made this a movie, it would be incredible film. You know, it's just a complete beautiful story, really heartwarming and touching, but also it's got a lot of, you know, just really cool stuff in it. And so, yeah, a lot of stuff to be excited for, that's for sure.
Yeah. All right, well, we're going to let you get out of here. Everyone check out Rook and Redcoat. Issue 3 are out today. Get out there, check it out. This was Jason Fabok. This was Bat Force Radio. We'll see you next time.
See ya.